The key theme of the High Holy Days is teshuvah, a Hebrew word that means return. It's sometimes translated as repentance, but it doesn't have the same connotation of repentance, looking at things we did wrong and trying to make up for them. Perhaps, taking some punishment for our actions in the strictest sense. Teshuvah, return, is looking at things, whether or not there's things that we look at and think, I did that wrong, or possibly things, well, I did the best I could, or even in a rare case, hey, I did that really well. What are we going to do with that is return to it, think about its significance, and find a way to move forward, bringing it with us in the most meaningful way. I will say that even though teshuvah, the word that I just said for return, is the theme of the High Holy Days, what I would say is the word at the center of this boot camp is relationship. Because the way we're going to look at the year that passed is through the lens of different relationships. Relationships as we usually think of it with the people important in our lives, family, perhaps a spouse, a life partner, someone we work with, and so on. But also relationships in different ways, relationships with the community in general, with ourself, and with God, which we'll do last because we really don't know what it means in an abstract, and I'd like to kind of create this more concrete approach to relationships before we tackle what it means to have a relationship with God. So even though there is a religious dimension to this and a spiritual dimension to this, it's also more concrete. If boot camp is getting into shape physically, this is also about our physical life and our emotional life, as well as our spiritual and religious life. And we'll figure out for ourselves what those distinctions are. There are people here who are members of Gesher LaTorah and members of the Jewish community in general, and there are also people from other faith communities or other ways of defining our faith. And that's appropriate because even though the Jewish New Year is very much about the Jewish tradition, Elul and Rosh Hashanah, what we do to prepare is actually the most human and least specifically Jewish. This is not about thinking about the history of the Jewish people or particular elements of the Jewish faith or tradition. It's about understanding our own lives as human beings and using that to prepare for what in the Jewish tradition is actually the universal beginning of creation, not the creation of the Jewish people, but creation of humanity. So we'll come back to that as well. And I just want to leave with one other thought that's tied to the Jewish tradition, but also connects to what we're doing. Relationship is actually built into this month of Elul. The word Elul itself, Aleph Lamed Vav Lamed in Hebrew, can be seen as the four letters of the words Ani Lidodi Vidodi Li. I am to my beloved as my beloved is to me. Words that come from the Song of Songs and are often interpreted outside of their context there, which is really two lovers, as us and God. God is the beloved. But it's, again, not only God, it is really our lovers, our people in our life that we love and people that we have relationships with. And in a way, it's like saying, who am I and how do I relate to the most dear to me? That's Ani Lidodi Vidodi Li. That's the essence of Elul.